Should we go? Okay. Okay. Oh, that's scary. Hello, hello. Test it.
All right.
Okay. I think we're good, right?
Not with the echo, we're not.
Hello. I think we're good. Thank you. All right. It is 5:01. I call this meeting to order. And let's see. For the record, this is Huang Tran, Chair of FedRAC. On my left is Council Member Jack Dovey, also a committee member. I think online we have Council Member Lydia and Council Member Susan Honda.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
All right. So,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Yes, okay. All right, good.
Hi, Lydia.
It looks like there's
Hello.
5 participants.
Oh, Susan and Lydia.
Yes.
By the way, my Facebook got hacked, so I just deactivate my Facebook, so you guys can't find me anymore. Sorry.
Oh, how sad.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for letting us know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any public comments?
We have no
Okay.
public comment.
We don't. Thank you. We're moving on to committee business. The first item is approval of summary minutes for May 2025.
I move adoption.
I second that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0. And now we are moving to item B, Tourism Enhancement Grant Recommendation 2026, Performing Art and Event Center Operation Support. That will be presented by Director Neil, and you will have a marathon session today.
I will.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, committee. So this is the first of a number of LTAC Tourism Enhancement Grant recommendations that came out of the most recent LTAC meeting in June. This is for the Performing Arts and Events Center. If you remember, you've already approved operational support for 2025, and at the last FedRAC meeting, it was requested that the operational support for 2026 be brought forward as well. So the question tonight is whether you should support this. It is a $150,000 application request for operational support for 2026. So this would come out of next year's budget. The options to consider are to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation for $150,000 to the July 1st consent agenda, or option 2 is to not forward it. The mayor's recommendation is option 1.
Great, thank you. Jack,
Yeah, can I move adoption of,
I have the,
or are there questions?
I have the verbiage here if you want me to read it, Jack.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I move to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation for the Performing Art and Event Center Operation Support 2026 to the July 1st, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Thank you. We are now moving on to item C, Tourism Enhancement Grant Recommendation 2025, RIBIC, Production NPC/IFBB Northwest Championship.
Thank you. So this is for a bodybuilding championship that is held at the PAC each year. And so again, the policy question is whether we should forward the recommendation on to council. The background on this, the application that was requested at $10,000, and that is what was suggested by the LTAC committee to move forward. This is an event that is held in November, and it's a fairly popular event with about 1,730 attendees. So option 1 is to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation to the July 1st consent agenda, and option 2 is to not forward. The mayor's recommendation in this case is option 1.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have one question.
Go ahead, please.
How many years have we been doing this? This comes up, it seems like a very popular event, and we funded it many years.
Yeah, this has been going on for quite a number of years. Director Groom, do you happen to have, do you know how many years?
This is the bodybuilding, right?
Correct.
We've been doing Elite Productions bodybuilding for quite some time. This is the first time with this organization. I think it's a different event, but it's the same type of thing. It is being held at the PAC. I don't have the number of years.
Thank you.
Lydia and Susan, do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
Thanks. Meredith, did you say 1,700 guests come to watch this?
Correct. That is the projected attendees, is 1,730 projected guests.
And that's over how many days?
3 days.
And how many spent the night in a hotel?
The projection is 200 hotel room nights.
So this is more of a local event?
This is mostly a local event, but there are competitors who travel in from around the Northwest region.
And this is different than what the bodybuilding event we sponsored before?
Yeah, so there are a couple of them. This is Ribbit Productions, which my understanding is that it's kind of adjacent to Elite Productions. So Elite is the one that we have funded a number of times before.
And are they coming back too?
They are.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any more questions? Okay, here are none. I move to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation for Ribbit Productions NPC/IFBB Northwest Championship event to the July 1st, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
Good. Motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Thank you. Now we're moving on to item D, Tourism Enhancement Grant Recommendation 2025, Pacific Northwest Association of Swimmer, USMS National Championships.
Thank you. So the policy question on this one is whether the City of Federal Way should approve the LTAC's recommendation. So some project background. So this is the Pacific Northwest Association of Swimmers. It is their Summer National Championship event, which is August 6th through 10th. The projected overnight attendees are about 1,500. The overnight stays projected are 2,000, and the amount requested is 20,000. So the options are to consider are to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant to the July 1st consent agenda for approval. Option 2 is to not forward this forward. The mayor's recommendation is option 1.
Thank you. Any question for Director Neal? Hearing none, I will make the motion. I move to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation Pacific Northwest Association of Swimmers, USMS National Championship to the July 1st, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Thank you. Now we are moving on to item E, Tourism Enhancement Grant Recommendation 2025, Elite Production, NPC/IFBB Northwest Championship.
Thank you. So this is the other bodybuilding competition, the Elite Productions, the Northern Classic. And so this is an event that will be September 19th and 20th. It is also held at the PAC. The projected attendees for this are 930, and the projected overnight stays are 358. And so this is also an event that basically leads into that other event, I believe, which is how they're kind of tied together. The request for this one is $6,000 since it is a somewhat smaller event than the $10,000 request for Ribbit Productions. The options are to forward this to the the proposed tourism enhancement grant to the July 1st consent agenda or to not forward it. In this case, the mayor's recommendation is option 1, to forward this to the consent agenda.
All right, thank you. Check.
I have one question. It seems like these people have come back many times, and we have another one. Is there a market niche that we should be pursuing for one of these a month? I mean, is there a lot of bodybuilding going on out there that people come and participate in?
I think that's a great question. It's one that we can look into a little bit more. My understanding of sort of the bodybuilding area is that there are certain seasons where they have a number of these different championships, and you kind of, work your way up through that. I don't know, since these are both fall events, if there's, an equivalent in the spring that we could be looking at, or at other times of year, or if perhaps we have kind of cornered the market and we already have the regional ones all coming here.
Yeah.
So we can certainly look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd appreciate if we look into it
Yeah.
and ask ourselves if we're missing 3 or more others or something.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
I just want to check in with Susan and Lydia to see if they have any questions.
I'm so sorry, I
No.
have a very bad internet connection, but I was in those meetings and at those current things, so I'm pretty familiar with
Okay,
all the ones that, are being presented. Thank you.
okay, great.
I'm
Just checking.
good.
All right. Let's see. I move to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation for Elite Production NPC/IFBB Northwest Championship event to the July 1st, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Thank you. Oh, before we move on, I just want to make sure to say that committee member Paul McDaniel is excused. He's at the conference. Thank you. All right, we are moving on to item F. Tourism Enhancement Grant Recommendation 2025, Seattle Sport Commission membership.
Thank you. So the policy question is whether we should approve the LTAC recommendation for the 2025 Tourism Enhancement Grant for the Seattle Sports Commission membership. The requested amount is $10,000. This is for an annual membership for the 2025 year to be a part of the Seattle Sports Commission. Option 1 is to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant to the July 1st consent agenda, and option 2 is to not forward it. The mayor's recommendation is option 1.
All right, thank you. Jack?
Yeah, how many other cities in South End are members?
That's a good question. I just attended the first quarterly meeting since I started here. There was one other South End city who attended the meeting, and a number of cities like Redmond and Bellevue and Issaquah who were in attendance. But I can pull up the roster and send you an answer later.
Okay, and is the membership equal to everybody, or is it by population, or?
I believe the membership is equal to everybody. There are different membership categories, and so it's not based on population. It's based on membership category for how much you might want to.
So I guess I'm trying to understand, I mean, is Seattle's probably more than 10,000, I would think?
I believe so.
And, okay. It'd be nice to get a roster of who's a member, what they each pay, and just for clarification, I'm not opposed to being a member of this, but I'd like to know what other cities are members and what the dues are.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Meredith, for the soccer tournament coming up next year, do we have an additional fee we need to pay?
There is not an additional fee to the Sports Commission for that. They certainly are sort of one of the convening bodies. They're working very closely with the committee for FIFA World Cup, the local Seattle committee. If there are events that we want to do here in the city, like watch parties, there would potentially be a fee for us to get the watch rights for it. for World Cup games to be able to play them like at the PAC or that type of thing. But there wouldn't be an additional fee for the Sports Commission. And that's, I think, one of the values is the Sports Commission is the one that's really pulling together the information and sharing it about how you can get ready for World Cup events and for the flux of visitors that we're going to see in the community.
Okay, thank you.
One other question. You mentioned watch parties. Are we thinking about having the PAC have a screen and people buy tickets that don't go down to the stadium and watch it that way? Is that kind of one of our thoughts?
It has been discussed. It's kind of interesting with the World Cup because some information has been released, but other information has not. And there are some things like how much it's going to cost to host each one of those that I don't believe we're going to know until the end of the year, which is about the same time that we'll find out which teams are playing and which teams are going to be playing here. So which countries we can expect. So it has been discussed though, and while I'm guessing they won't be able to play all of the games at the PAC, I think there is some interest in maybe picking one or two key games at key times that would be at the PAC.
Okay, thank you.
Meredith,
Yes.
I don't think charging for those was part of the conversation though, right?
Yeah, that hasn't really evolved much yet. I think the feeling was that it might be just open to the community and that there might not
Right.
be a charge.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that would be a great way to engage our community and not charge for
But-
attending or participating.
Yeah, it'd be nice, it'd be nice to let everybody go for free, of course, but we need
Yeah.
to know what FIFA's going to charge to live stream it,
Right.
because it may not,
Oh, they'll charge us? Okay,
well, if they do, I mean, we can't give it away for free because it's not in the budget.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at is whether there are funds available either through Port of Seattle as an economic development partners grant. And my understanding is that a number of other cities are planning to use a portion of that for planning and marketing for World Cup. And so that might be something that we consider. Along with that, we could consider a TEG grant that would help to pay for some of those watch party fees.
All right. Okay, I move to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation for the Seattle Sports Commission membership 2025 to the July 1st, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Thank you. And we are moving on to item G, Tourism Enhancement Grant Recommendation 2025, Wildway Fiesta Buena Onda? Did I say it right?
You did.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
So this is a new event, and what's interesting is that Wild Waves, this is the first time that they've ever applied to the city for a tourism enhancement grant as well. So the policy question is whether the city should approve LTAC's recommendation for the Wild Waves event Fiesta Buena Onda 2025 Tourism Enhancement Grant. Wild Waves has requested $15,000. And so this is for a specialized event on August 30th and 31st, which is one of their busy summer weekends. And they are going to be looking at about 2,000 attendees to this. They have contracted with an event company who works with the Washington State Fair, who works with a number of other event organizers throughout the region in Seattle as well, who specialize in events for the Hispanic community. And so this is a Hispanic heritage event that they are testing out to see. They're projecting their overnight stays at 360 right now. And we'll see what this event turns into. So, option one is to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant to the July 1st consent agenda. Option two is to not forward it. The mayor's recommendation is option one.
Gotcha.
Could you remind us what the total budget that Wild Waves is going to have for this program? I mean, we're not funding the whole thing. I don't have my sheet in front of me, so.
Correct. We are not funding the entirety of it. Sorry, flipping through my rather large packet.
I know, it was a big packet.
So the overall budget for the event is $46,200.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, I move to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation for the Wildways event Fiesta Buena Onda 2025 to the July 1st, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, this matter passed 2-0. Thank you. And now we are moving on to item H, Tourism Enhancement Grant Recommendation 2025 Pacific Raceways, NHRA, and Drag Race.
Thank you. So this is our seventh and final recommendation coming out of the LTAC committee for Pacific Raceways for a drag and drive event. So the policy question is whether the city should approve the LTAC recommendation for this tourism enhancement grant for Pacific Raceways. Their request is $75,000, and it is for the NRHA Nationals, which are July 18th through 20th, 2025. A few things about this. In discussion during the LTAC committee, there were a number of questions about it. Pacific Raceways is working on getting better data and metrics so that they can fully track where 2025 attendees are staying, where they're going. I would say that this is one that the hoteliers were in strong support of, and they feel like they do see people coming in from into hotels in Federal Way. So the options to consider are to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant to the July 1st agenda, or option 2 is to not forward. The mayor's recommendation is option 1.
Thank you. Jack, go ahead.
Sorry, I got another question on this one.
Sure.
This is a big project, and we did it last year, and I think it was pretty successful, but it's like one of the largest funding things that we do with this tag grant, other than giving the $150,000 to the PAC to do what they do. Was there any talk ever of doing some sort of promotional thing where we get tickets that we can give to our citizens here and, you know, have some sort of raffle or drawing to get them excited about it? Kind of like radio stations do, they have some big thing, and
Sure.
I don't know, it just, I'm not opposed, this is a big project, and we're here to fill people into our hotels and generate things, but it'd be nice to be able to figure out a way to get 10 citizens excited who like auto racing, and they go volunteer and clean up a park and win a ticket or something, I don't know. Just
I
other
like
than-
that idea.
Other than just giving the money, which is not a bad thing, maybe we could figure out how the citizens that can't go that want to can get some benefit.
Sure.
A small number.
Yeah, and no, we can certainly talk with the Raceway about that and see what they might be willing to do. I don't believe that's a conversation that's been had, but I would bet that they would be open to it.
I mean, why not? It can't, all I can do is say no, right? Mm-hmm. And then, anyway, okay.
Yeah,
I have a
that sounds like
question.
a great
Oh.
idea, though. Sorry.
Go ahead.
And no, and the conversation has not happened before, so thank you. I think it's a great idea. I like it. I support it.
Great. Go ahead, Susan.
Oh, thank you. So they've asked for 75,000, and that's what the committee recommended is 75,000?
That is correct.
And last year it was 50,000, I think?
Yes.
So why the increase this year?
My understanding is that the cost of putting on the event has gone up. And so their hope is that with this and the funding that they've received from the city of Auburn, their goal is to break even on this event.
So what are the other cities? I believe Canton, Auburn.
Kent and
Give money
Auburn.
for
Yes.
this, how much are they giving?
So I believe I believe the city of Auburn was 100,000, and I am not certain what the city of Kent gave or if they gave anything.
I don't think Kent gave anything. But we did have this conversation, and what they said was that they were breaking even, and this event does not bring in any money. That's my understanding. I think, right, Meredith?
Yeah.
That's what they were saying, that, yeah.
Yeah.
The 75,000 that we are willing to put into this, how much do we get out of it?
Well, and that's where, because there was a lot of discussion about that, that's where getting some more of the metrics with the data platform that they're using this year, which uses cell phone data to see where people are spending their dollars outside of being at the event itself, to get a better understanding of how many people who are attending that event are staying in the city of Federal Way or shopping and dining here. So that we can get a more full picture of that, because it's a little unclear at the moment.
So do we have the data from last year?
We have what their estimates are.
And well, this year it'll be estimates too?
Correct. Well, and so this year they're actually using a data platform called Placer AI that uses cell phone data to much more accurately track where people are and where they're spending their money.
Okay, because I thought that's what they were using last year. I thought that's what was explained to us on how they got their information last year.
Mm.
So how many people last year do they estimate stayed in our hotels?
Let's see. Let me look and see if they have that in their application.
I think it was lower than they anticipated, but one thing they said during conversation was that
Hey, Lydia, you were on the committee.
stayed there by going through a third-party reservation. Can you hear me?
Lydia, you're breaking up.
Yeah. Hey, Lydia, this is Jack. Can you hear me okay? Because
Yes.
I believe last year the report we got back said our hotels were 100% booked or totally booked. That's why the hoteliers liked it, but did that come up in the meeting? Morse code.
So let's see, they had 20,302. Oh. So they had 20,302 attendees, ticketed spectators, along with 4,500 participants in the races themselves, in the drag races and drive events.
Can you hear me? I can hear you, but you can't hear me?
Oh,
No.
there. We heard you again. We lost you for a minute or two.
Can you hear me
So
now?
they had 20,000, a little over 20,000 ticketed people at the event. And how many stayed in our hotels?
Well, so they know that 100 stayed in the Courtyard by Marriott because they had an actual room block there. The other hotels did not have room blocks, but they're estimating that 600 to 700 stayed in the hotels. And the hoteliers did say that they certainly saw people that looked like they were part of that event that were staying here. And we have just over 700 nights, or 700 hotel rooms.
Okay. It'd be good to get more accurate information in the future.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Hello? Oh, now you can, okay.
Barely.
Lydia, can you turn your camera off? We can't see you
That one to
anyway,
add was
and it
also
will
some
help your
people
bandwidth.
did book through, better?
Yes.
You can hear me now? Hello?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Okay. wanted to
Lydia?
add was, one thing they shared was that some people booked through a third party. Yeah, okay, never mind.
And so what I believe that Councilmember Stephen Dawson was saying was that quite a few people booked through third-party vendors like Expedia or that type of thing. And so it's much harder for them to track if it's actually attached to the event or not. And that they saw a big bump in the number of people who were booking in the 2 to 3 weeks before the event. And so that's when all the hotel rooms filled up.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna make a motion here. I move to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation for the Pacific Raceways NHRA Northwest Nationals Drag Race 2025 to the July 1st, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Director Neal.
Thank you.
We are now moving on to item I, AP voucher 51625 to 61525, and payroll voucher from 50125 to 53125. Director Room.
Thank you, Chair. This is routine, and I'll make it as interesting as I possibly can. Now, this month, you will notice in your packet, we have the previous month's 15th through 30th accounts payable. Past practice, we've always tried to also include the most current month, but this month we had the Juneteenth holiday. We were a day late because of technical problems. I see this as an opportunity to actually align our accounts payable and our payroll. So in your packet, we've restated the prior months so that we've got complete months and so that those also match the monthly financial reports. I think that's a reasonable practice to continue going forward. In the packet that you've got, the detail that's attached that we need you to forward for approval doesn't have very much. The construction expenses were all in the previous check batch, and when we compare month to month, that it's the construction of the maintenance and operations facility that almost always explains the material variances in our spending. In the payroll vouchers, this last month was not a month that had quarterly payroll taxes. I also try to bring you up to speed because the maintenance and operations facility is so material. Of the $53 million that we received in bond proceeds, we have now spent $21.8 million. 3.6 was in May, which there's that's the total. And then the unspent, the $32.6 million, that's the amount that I show in the red bars as I always report our cash balances. So that's everything I can find that's of interest. I ask for your approval.
Any question for Director Room?
Oh, we did receive questions today from Councilmember Honda. We sent them out
As
by
usual.
email, and we are always available. You reserve the right to ask further questions if you think of them later.
Well, thank you. Okay, if there's no further question, then I will make the motion. I move to forward the vouchers to July 1st, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Thank you. You have the last item, item J, monthly financial report for May 2025.
Thank you, Chair. As always, I start with how we're doing with inflation, and over the last 24 months, the national inflation has remained below 4%. From February through May, it's actually been below 3%. And I'm sorry, it's that elusive dashed red line that the Federal Reserve is trying to achieve. They're waiting till we get down to 2%. That's one of their metrics before they reduce rates. Now, what have they been doing with the interest rate reductions? The Fed met last week and they elected to keep rates the same. So that means that for people that are in the real estate business, mortgages and other related industries, Mortgage rates still are not dropping. We'll see this effect when we look at the real estate excise tax revenue graph shortly. But this is just what's going on nationally that affects us. Locally, sales tax revenue, it's our single biggest revenue. The scale on that graph in the lower right is 22 million, and it's still just a little bit unfavorable to budget. This month, it came in under prior year by 0.5%, so we still are watching it, and the year-to-date is just virtually even with last year. You can see the 5 or 6 prior years on the graph on the left. Our restricted utility tax revenue is ahead of budget. It's currently $424,000 favorable to budget, and it's a little bit over prior year as well. And this has been one of our positives, so we continue to watch that month over month. Property tax revenue, I'm reluctant to show this graph in the first few months just because it's so meaningless, but now that we have gotten the first wave, during April and May, we get the first half of the property tax remittances that come to us through the county. And this, we almost always get nearly exactly what was levied. So this is not a surprise. All this is reassuring us that things are working normally out in the world when we receive our property tax, roughly as we expected. The timing can be different, but we expect to receive it fully by the end of the year. Permit fee revenue has been a little bit of a roller coaster this year. Last month, if you look at that red line on the chart that measures against how we're doing against budget in prior year, last month it increased quite a bit, but this month it didn't. And if I scroll that graph away and show you the month by month, well, you can see that we had a really strong April, but May was still higher than it was the previous year. The graph on the left shows that we are virtually even with prior year, with the same 5 months in the last year. Interest revenue has been a little bit unfavorable this year, and that's because of the amount of cash that we spent during the first portion of the year. And I am encouraged that the rates are still up. That's a good thing for the investment side, so we will continue to watch that. This has been slightly unfavorable to budget and a little bit under prior year. Lodging tax is one of our big favorables. This is actually, the scale on this graph is 350,000. We budgeted just over 300,000, and it's coming in significantly favorable to budget and to prior year. This is the one that has troubled us for 2 years now. This started dropping in 2023. It was significantly down in 2024, and this year it is just continuing to lag. This is the real estate excise tax that we feel is tied largely to mortgage rates. So this is not a surprise. And the way that we manage this, the way that we mitigate this, is we manage the timing of the projects that it funds. Here's the month by month that shows that the current month was essentially the same as it was last month. Last year. And then the previous month, we had a really good month. So year to date, we're showing signs of improvement, but just not what we wish we were. On the investment side, we had one investment. It was a treasury that was earning 2.8%. We replaced it with a treasury that's 5 years, that'll be non-callable for 5 years, so that $1 million will earn 4.06 for the next 5 years. Lastly, staff has been accomplishing a few things. We brought the first quarter budget amendment, and I meant to mention that right off the bat. The first quarter budget amendment came for first ordinance, first reading and second reading. It got approved just last week. So our monthly financial report doesn't reflect all those changes. That'll be reflected in next month's monthly financial report. We have been working with the farmers market team, getting the banking and accounting figured out. We have a full staff. We're still working on training and onboarding. We did get our budget to the state auditors, our preliminary audited financials. I guess that means they're unaudited until the auditors finish with it. And I'll give you some details on that, just because I've briefed the mayor and the city administrator on what our preliminary results were for the last year. And then, of course, we're working with IT on the Eden financial system replacement. That's what's keeping us busy. The results for 2024, takes us a while to close the books and do all the entries and the reconciliations, but the report that we sent to the auditor says that citywide, our net position increased $26 million in 2024 over the prior year. Revenues increased $28 million. The general fund's fund balance increased. Cash increased 32 million, and we were favorable to budget last year by 10 million. Now, all of those are positives until you get the very last one, and then you realize, well, of course, that's why cash increased, because we issued debt for the maintenance and operations facility by 53 million. So this is the top headlines that that will be on our 2024 results when it goes public after the auditors are done with it, and we'll post it to the website. I just wanted to give you a preview. That concludes my report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Does anybody have a question for Steve?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Susan.
Thank you. On property tax, do we know how many folks did not pay their taxes?
No, we measure it in dollars, and judging by the dollars, it looks like everybody is paying it because it's virtually in line with last year. And last year, we ended up virtually collecting what was levied. So they don't give us, and I don't ask for parcel by parcel information.
Okay, it would be interesting. I know at one point several years ago, there were a number of businesses that don't pay every year, but they wait and pay before they get in trouble. So,
Yeah, we have a good relationship with the assessor. Thank you. That's a good point.
thanks.
Yeah, hey, Susan?
Yes.
It would seem to me that when you think about real estate tax, most people have a mortgage, and most
Right.
mortgages the taxes are collected by the banks at the time. So the number of people who don't maybe pay on time are the ones who own their property free and clear and then take advantage of the low interest rate from the assessor. So it might be hard to figure out what the number is, but it'd be interesting to know.
Right. Although you could, when you get your mortgage, you can always choose to pay your taxes by yourself without the mortgage company taking them out. But it's interesting. It would be nice to know.
I think it'd be an interesting statistic for planning in the future to know. I mean,
Right.
I think that's a great question to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I do have a questions. I know you mentioned earlier that the Fed decided to not to cut the rate this time, but more and more, even within the members of that committee, some of the people start to thinking about, maybe it's time to cut rates. So sooner or later, that will happen, right? And of course, the president is pressuring the chair to cut rate. So do we need to adjust our investment to lock in the current rate?
Everything that we purchase every single month when we have a maturity is locking it in for 5 years. When rates do go down, we would expect to see interest revenue drop, but I would also hope that that would be more than offset with the economy picking up on sales tax and also real estate excise tax. Call me an optimist, that would be my hope.
Do we even have more money to invest now?
No, we are doing, we are keeping our liquidity at what we consider to be the floor of where we want to keep our liquidity at. Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
good question, thank you.
Jack.
As a follow-up question, what is our average, and you don't have to answer it now because you probably don't know, but what is our average interest rate? Because when you started buying treasuries years ago, it was lower, and recently it's higher. I mean, have we turned them over to where we're higher than 3% or always in 4, or where
We have.
Where are we at?
We have, do I have that? I thought, Our average yield is 4.06 right now. Yeah,
So that's pretty much at the top of what you could get.
Yeah.
If you had money to go into treasuries today. Is
right.
that
So when
correct?
and so when you look at the 70 million that we have laddered out, plus the 20 million on deposit at the state pool, our average is 4.06%, which is a significant increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what our risk is, what council member was mentioning, is if the rates go down and we have a turnover rate of X amount per month, our budget numbers, if it drops by 0.5% and it goes to 3, I mean, we could see an issue pop up when the interest rates drop.
The 20 million that's on deposit with the state treasurer would be the amount that would drop, and
I mean,
They're
if it
pretty
goes
good at-
If it goes 1% from 4 to 3, it's a big
yeah,
number in the
but it's
scheme.
only that 20 million, not our whole 90 million, yeah.
20 million is still walking around money, right?
That's how we run a city, that's right, it
Yeah,
all begins
okay.
to,
All right, any more questions?
thank you very much.
Okay, hearing none. I move to forward the May 2025 monthly financial report to the July 1st, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 2-0. Thank you. And that is all the actionable item for today. Our next meeting is going to be at 5 p.m. on July 22nd, 2025 in this room. And the meeting now is concluded. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you, staff. Thank you, council members, for being here. Appreciate it.